Mount Vernon campus of UDC on land adjoining the Carnegie. The Arts Institution and new campus were to be part of UDC's development as a major multicultural university. The Carnegie Library was to become a repository for art and archival material of peoples engaged in historic struggles for freedom. The trustees felt that the acquisition of the dinner party would provide a base for them to build upon, to help secure grants and private funding. Because the dinner party has been revenue producing for almost all the institutions that have shown it, UDC anticipated considerable financial benefit from its installation. To Judy Chicago and the board of Through the Flower, this multicultural institute was a wonderful vision, a vision in which the dinner party would be seen by thousands of people, would serve as the basis for educational programs, and also be part of a larger human effort for enfranchisement and dignity.
When the dinner party first was exhibited, it was seen at its first installation by 100,000 people. It then encountered enormous resistance in institutions who didn't, for some reason that none of us could comprehend, didn't want to show it. I used to say the dinner party was a piece that everybody wanted to see and nobody wanted to show, because we used to get all these letters from people asking when they could see it. Well, what happened in response to the institutional resistance is that people first all around America, then all around Canada, and then in Europe, and in fact all around the world, got together and organized and found ways to bring the piece to their city. The dinner party traveled for 10 years. It was exhibited 14 times in 6 countries. As it traveled, it inspired all kinds of ancillary activities that have continued to this day. One is the International Quilting Bee, in which people from all over the world contributed 2-foot-on-the-side triangular quilts honoring women who have been important to them or women from their own history, and now we have 500 of these quilts. In Germany, where the dinner party was exhibited, a group of women organized, and a year before the piece was shown in Frankfurt, they rented the Frankfurt Opera House. There, hundreds of women from all over Europe assembled, and they dressed up as the women on the table and on the floor. And one of the highlights of this was when one of the women dressed as Fanny Mendelssohn conducted an all-female orchestra on a piece of music that had never been performed during Fanny Mendelssohn's lifetime. In Australia, where the dinner party was part of the bicentennial celebration, there was a dinner for 1,000 women. This was a dinner that commemorated their bicentennial and mimicked a dinner 100 years before, a centennial dinner where there were 1,000 men and women were not allowed. At the end of the exhibition in Australia, we had other requests for exhibitions. By that time, the dinner party had been exhibited 14 times, and we felt that it was enough, that the time had come to bring the dinner party home and to begin to look for permanent housing.
On July 20th, 1990, the artist gifted the dinner party to UDC. But by then, a misinformation campaign had been started by the Washington Times and picked up by the Washington Post. The media misrepresented the vision of UDC's trustees and threw the flowers board. False allegations were made against UDC board members, and erroneous reports of the sources of funding were spread. Vicious attacks were made on the work of art. When this misinformation campaign failed to deter the gifting of the dinner party, someone went to the House of Representatives. On July 26, 1990, members of the House debated the dinner party on the floor of the Congress for over an hour.
And now we have this pornographic art, three-dimensional ceramic art of 39 women's vaginal area, their genitalia served up on plates that requires a whole room at the University of District of Columbia to be set aside, a room that needs $650,000 of roof repair, and they're asking us for $60 million more, and we're supposed to not find some vehicle to send them a message. We're told to use Western Union, cross our fingers, we're not the board of directors, and hope for the best while everybody concedes it's pornographic. Here's the headline in one of the papers in this city with a color picture, a long shot of this dinner table art that was created at the cost of $250,000 a decade ago. NEA was not a big problem then because we didn't know what was going on. It got $36,500 of tax dollars, and the 39 place settings at this disgusting dinner table are supposed to be great women of history, including some women authors, one of whom said she's disgusted and appalled that her name would dare appear at the 39th place setting. Look at this garbage. UDC's $1.6 million dinner. It says it was banned in art galleries around the country because it depicts women's genitalia on plates that has been characterized as obscene by some critics, not all critics though. $36,500 NEA money. That debate comes up tomorrow, I guess. DC Council last week approved a $1.6 billion bond issue to the university to set up this entire room at the university. The mezzanine will be removed, stairs and an elevator will be installed. They refuse to detail the cost for transporting. Insurance is a mind blower to insure this. They're going to set up a $30,000 employee's job to preside over this piece of ceramic 3D pornography.
When we were working on the dinner party, we had pretty big dreams. We had dreams of being able to make a work of art that told the history of women, that told the history of our struggles and our achievements, and to have that work become part of the culture. That was a big dream. Never, as part of our dream, did we think we would live to see the day when the House of Representatives would discuss the piece, but not in a discussion that acknowledged its importance, its historic importance, and it becoming part of our cultural history, but instead launching a vile misinformation campaign, an assault against my integrity as an artist, the integrity of the work, and also which called into question the judgment of the million people who have seen and revered and cherished the dinner party.
It is a waste for this university, under such financial conditions, to spend $1.6 million in order to display weird sexual art.
They're going to feature a work that has 39 elaborate place settings depicting female vaginas. And I think that
Representative Paris offered an amendment to the D.C. appropriation bill deleting $1.6 million from UDC's 1991 budget. $1.6 million was the figure UDC had appropriated from a bond issue to renovate the Carnegie Library, a renovation long overdue.
I bet, Mr. Chairman, that there are those members of this Congress who will think twice before they have to go home and tell their individual constituents that part of this $1,179,000,000 went for a piece of art to be displayed publicly in this town for this purpose.
The D.C. Council's sanity is questioned as the Hill learns of the dinner party, and for some of us learning about it 10 years too late.
It is not the job of a university to raise money by creating a spectacle of weird art, weird sexual art at that, in order to charge people to come in and see it. I doubt if they're going to make any money on this.
Joseph Webb, a trustee, said the board was shown photographs of the dinner party, but some people did not see the various things for female genitalia. Then he says, as a poet, I have no problem with the art. I'll put $100 on the table here that I'll duel poetry with any member of this house, not Senator Byrd, the other body. Poetry, Shakespeare, line for line, Longfellow. Come on, let's do it. I'm a poet, and I do have trouble with this because it's not art. It is not art. It's pornography.
That was so painful for me to watch had to do with seeing images that I had created come alive. The work is called Power Play, a series of works on the subject of the way in which power disfigures people. Now, we know that most of the people in Western civilization who have carried the burden of power have been men. So the images focused on the ways in which men have been disfigured by power. And while I was watching these guys spew all over the dinner party and the beautiful work that I tried to create, I kept getting these images of these men from my own paintings and weavings, and I could not bear to watch it. In order
parts of the country or the world as any people count. It really makes you feel that, that there are people everywhere here. Please come to the reception. It's over at the Women's Center, and I think most of you know where that is. It's across from the Union.